geopolitics of critical minerals in a world in which we are trying to decarbonize the environment have taken center stage. But first, just about geopolitics. The concept of geopolitics refers to basically a combination of things. One, geography, politics, demographics, and access or lack of access to resources depending on those factors. Now, if you think about it, if you're talking about minerals, oil and gas, you are naturally talking about geology, which is geography. You're naturally talking about access. You're naturally talking about trade. You're naturally talking about some advantage. If you combine those issues with the notion of criticality, which is to say something which is essential, upon which certain developments depend, then you can see how the geopolitical dynamic is so crucial to understand and to factor into policies as we think about critical minerals. Let me just spend a moment talking about critical minerals. So the criticality of a mineral is not natural. On the contrary, it is very specific to a time and place in our industrial development trajectory. The criticality of a mineral substance is also a function of the technology of the day, because the technology requires certain mineral substances in order for us to be able to manufacture the necessary tools to advance that technology. The criticality of minerals also depends on demand relative to supply. So what do we know about these three factors then in terms of decarbonization? What we know is this, that China dominates. The EU estimates that as of 2021, China produced up to 70% of all the critical minerals, and they are critical for battery storage. The relationship between battery storage and decarbonization is this, that for us to decarbonize, we have to reduce the amount of greenhouse emissions. For us to do that, we have, among others, to reduce fossil fuels, which are necessary to generate energy. To do so, we need to capture energy and store it so that we use the energy that is in storage rather than go back to nature. That's the importance of battery storage capacity. And the minerals that are critical for these are varied. We have nickel, we have cobalt, we have lithium, we have graphite, we have many more. Now, as it happens, China dominates in this space. But to be fair, there are other areas of the world that are very well endowed. The DRC, for instance, produces 60% of all the world's cobalt today. Between the DRC and South Africa and Zimbabwe and, for that matter, Zambia, we have major copper producers. But more importantly, what we know is this, that in the area of critical minerals, there has been very little exploration on the continent, which is to say, with more investment in exploration to find these minerals, it could well be that we change the geopolitics of the world, and that it isn't China that dominates, but the region. But first, we must invest in finding the minerals. And this, so far, has not happened. The other thing that I perceive in the critical mineral spaces is that while the United States and Europe and others are behind, Africa and China are increasingly forming partnership. Chinese companies have bought a huge lithium deposit in Zimbabwe. Chinese companies dominated the production coming out of the DRC in the cobalt space. I sense that African governments seem to think they have to choose between China or Europe. I don't think so. I think to the extent that critical minerals give us an advantage, the only choice we should make is between Africa and the economic value that accrues to Africa's people.